Steven and Katie were sharing a bed.
Oh,
and they started engaging in sexual activities. Katie is 18, but he's twice her age, and he is biologically her dad. That's disgusting. There was a man by the name of Stephen Pladel. He's living in the state of New York, just doing his own thing, you know, browsing on the internet, and that is when he decides that he's gonna meet his new girlfriend that he met online. Her name is Alyssa. He flies to Texas for the love of his life, Alyssa. Now, huge problem here. Stephen Pladel is 20 years old, and Alyssa Garcia is only 15 years old. So this already itself is illegal. So by the time that Alyssa was 16 years old, she gets pregnant. And she gives birth to a daughter by the name of Denise, a beautiful daughter. And she's really happy. The family moved to Virginia, and she starts noticing some things. One day, she caught Stephen just secretly pinching every part of Alyssa's body. And then she starts noticing more alarming behavior. Anytime Denise would cry, Stephen would scoop the baby up and throw her into like a beverage cooler. And he would close it until the crying stopped, because she was on the verge of being unconscious because there was no oxygen left. Then he would open it back up and take her out. So Alyssa's like, I mean, at this point, this guy is gonna murder our baby. So she decides to do a very difficult, but honestly a really smart choice, was to put the baby up for adoption. Denise gets adopted by an Anthony and Kelly Fusco. They seemed like very nice couple. They already had their own biological daughter. Anthony had been working for the Coast Guard for the past like 30 years. Now he's working as a corrections officer at a prison. Like, it seems like they have a stable life. So of course Alyssa was ecstatic. Yeah, I mean, if any parents deserve this baby, it's maybe you guys, right? So she gives her baby to them, and they rename her Katie Fosco. She grows up, she goes to high school, she was really active, she was beautiful, that's how she was growing up. I mean, things were going well. So at this point in her life, she had been alerted that she was adopted, and it seems like Katie took it really well. She's 18 years old now and decides, I kind of want to know who my biological parents are. So she starts tracking them down on social media, and they start exchanging these messages back and forth between Alyssa and Katie. And then Katie tells her parents she's in fact not going to college, but is going to be moving to Virginia to live with Alyssa and Stephen, her birth parents. Now, the main problem was that Alyssa and Stephen were not in a good place at this point. They had two daughters, 11 years old and 6 years old, and Alyssa had just been a victim of abuse for the past decades. Like, Alyssa, anytime she tried to leave, you know, she would try multiple times. She wanted to leave with the kids for their safety. Stephen was abusive. He's the type that, like, had rifles all around the house. Anytime Alyssa kind of threatened to leave or said, you know, genuinely, I'm gonna leave because you are not good for my kids, you're not good for me, he would say, well, here's what I'm gonna do the minute that you leave. I'm gonna unalive myself with a gun, and I'm gonna record the whole thing. I'm gonna make sure that you're forced to watch it.
Jeez,
and she was
that's what kind of
terrified. It almost seemed like he had this mentality of, well, if I can't have you, no one can. Because it's not like he was obsessed with her. It's not like he was still in love with her. It was just a power thing. So enter into the picture Katie. Now, Katie and Alyssa, immediately they hit it off. Katie missed her mom, was like, oh my God, like, this is my biological mom, and she's so cool, she's so chill, like, she has an amazing personality. And then she finds out that she has two sisters in Virginia, so she starts living there, and she gets her own little room. Nothing strange was really happening in the beginning. Katie was getting along with Alyssa. She was getting on really well with her two sisters, but Alyssa started noticing some strange things in Stephen. So Stephen started wearing a lot of tight jeans. Always wore these like tight shirts, you know, you gotta show off your pecs. Bizarre. He's never been like this. Like, he's in his 40s, maybe he's having like a midlife crisis. What's going on? Does it have anything to do with Katie? She's confused. And then the real alarming thing happens. He starts sleeping in Katie's room, but on the floor.
What? That's creepy.
Like, just on the floor. Now, Alyssa, at first, she did not think that this was some sort of, like, incestuous thing going on. She genuinely believed, well, this guy's trying to ruin my relationship with Katie. Like, my husband is so evil. He knows that I am so happy that Katie's here. And now he's probably talking to her all night long about how evil I am. So she decides, I can't do this. So she tries to leave Stephen with the kids. And guess what? He says, okay, bye. She's like, what? My whole life, I could not leave this man because he would threaten to unalive himself, he would threaten to do this, he would threaten to kill me, he would threaten to shoot me. But suddenly, he's like, okay, have a good one. She even files for divorce. He's like, all right, where do I sign? And she's like, okay, this is weird, but maybe he's really moving on with his life. But in reality, what was happening is the minute that Alyssa left, Stephen and Katie were sharing a bed.
Oh,
and they started engaging
God.
in sexual activities. Katie is 18, but he's twice her age, and he is biologically her dad. So I put literally all the blame on him, okay? That's disgusting. So they start doing things with each other. They even start asking the youngest two daughters, who had called Katie their sister this whole time, to suddenly call her mom. Like treat her as a new stepmom. So they're confused, like, what? And he also said you can't tell anyone because people are gonna bully you. So they don't tell anyone. But the oldest daughter, the 11-year-old, she has a little diary. So she's like writing stuff in her diary. Now one day she comes home and Alyssa, for whatever reason, is feeling like something weird's going on at Stephen's house. Anytime the kids come back, they seem a little bit stressed, they seem a little bit confused, and they won't tell her anything. So she reads the 11-year-old's diary, and she finds out the truth. The 11-year-old had drawn a picture of Stephen and said, my dad is a demon, and talking about how Katie is a human, so does that mean their child is going to be a demon? So she's like, what? She flips the page. Turns out Katie is pretending to be the wife. They're playing house, wife and husband, and in fact, Katie is pregnant. And the kids are confused. So immediately, Alyssa flips out. She files, protective orders against him, restraining orders. She takes her kids and she's like, you're not seeing them. And she calls him and she's like, what are you doing? This is disgusting. What is wrong with you? And he says, well, I thought you know. I love her. She told Katie, I put you up for adoption because your dad was abusing you. And it seemed like Katie didn't really care. So she's like, what the fork is going on? She calls the cops, and the cops go and they question the two little daughters, and they also question Stephen, but they do not immediately arrest him. And because of that reason, they don't have an arrest warrant, they don't have you gotta stay here until we figure this out, nothing. Stephen and Katie moved to North Carolina. They moved to be with Stephen's mom. So that's weird that she allowed that in the house. I don't know why or how, I don't know. So they're living with her and they decide to go to Maryland to get married. Now, incest is illegal in Maryland. How do they get married? Well, Katie, her name is Katie Fosco.
Yeah.
She has different parents listed, and then his name is Stephen Pladel. He has different parents listed, and they just don't tell anyone that they're actually biologically related. So they get a marriage license and everything. And what makes it even worse is they didn't just sneak off to do this. No. Stephen's mom went. And so did Katie's adoptive parents. It seemed like a situation of they felt, well, this guy seems possessive. He seems obsessive and he seems protective. And if we say no to Katie, maybe he doesn't even want her to talk to us. Maybe he'll forbid her from talking to us. So they just show up at the wedding. There's pictures of them all smiling. It's a very eerie picture. And then Stephen and Katie move back to North Carolina. And in 2017, she gives birth to a son by the name of Bennett. So this would be, she'd give birth to her son/brother. This would be Stephen's son/grandson, and they're raising it with the help of Stephen's mom, so she is raising her grandson/great-grandson. And so as they're in North Carolina, they get arrested by North Carolina authorities, and they get extradited to Virginia on charges of adultery, incest, and delinquency of a minor or something of that sort. They get out on bail, and the whole time, Stephen's attorney, I mean, what a piece of work. He's like, listen, guys, this isn't really incest. It's, my client's having a midlife crisis, He's just upset with life.
Midlife crisis.
He's not, him and his wife weren't doing well at the time, Alyssa, and then, just in comes this hot 18-year-old girl. Can you blame him? That was the vibe. So they get out on bail, and the whole thing is you guys are not allowed to talk to each other. You're not allowed to see each other. And Bennett, the son, will be in full care of Stephen's mom, which to me I think is a little bit weird, right? Now, Katie at this point, she moves back in with her adoptive parents. And I think this is the part where, Katie's parents did not approve of it, right? And this shows because once she's in with her adoptive parents again, she realizes, what the fork was that? She's over it. She's like, what? And so she decides to give Stephen a ring, even though she's not allowed to. She decides to call him to let him know, hey, even regardless of how this court case goes, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with you as a dad or as a husband. So she was like, okay, well, I just don't really want anything to do with you at this point. And he hangs up the phone and he's pissed. He's not only losing his daughter, but he's also losing his wife, and he's really mad. So he goes over to his mom's house and he says, well, can I take Bennett to New York? I'm gonna go see Katie. Again, I don't know why the mom said yes. I don't even know why the mom had, custody of this child. So she lets him. Instead, he takes the boy back to his own house and strangles him to death. And just throws this lifeless baby boy's body into a closet. And he leaves a key under the front doormat and gets into his car and drives 10 hours to New York. Now he arrives at the Fusco house and he starts stalking them. Now he knows her schedule really well, like down to a T, because this guy is crazy, and knows that soon her and her dad, Katie and her adoptive dad, will be driving to go see their grandma. So he waits for them, their car pulls out of the driveway, and he starts following them. When they end up at a stop sign, he pulls up right next to them and opens fire into the vehicle. This is in broad daylight. So there was a firefighter who was like driving, not even like a fire truck, like an off-duty firefighter. He saw the whole thing. He called 911 and was like, oh my God, you guys need to do something. I think it was like this baby blue van with North Carolina license plates. So they start freaking out. Meanwhile, Steven just calmly drives away and calls his mom and says, hey mom, so like, remember how I said I was gonna go to New York with the baby and show the baby to Katie? Well, yeah, I didn't do that. I killed the baby. It's in my house. By the way, there's a key under the front mat. I left it for you guys. Like, I want someone to find the baby, essentially. Oh, and also I just killed Katie and her dad. And he hung up the phone. So immediately, Steven's mom calls the police in North Carolina. Now, what's very odd about this 911 call is that the whole time she leaves out vital information. The fact that Katie was also his biological daughter. She keeps only referring to Katie as his wife. Just the whole thing's bizarre, I tell you. So finally, New York authorities, they find the vehicle. They find Steven's North Carolina vehicle parked in a parking lot, and when they approach it, he had unalived himself with the same gun. He was 42 years old, and Katie was 20 when she was murdered. And this one's real nasty. Nasty murder, nasty, nasty dude.